President Sisi urges the swift completion of national infrastructure projects. Egypt dispatches its 22nd aid convoy from Rafah to Gaza via the Karam Abu Salim border crossing. And the Egyptian and Saudi foreign ministers discuss Gaza during their bilateral meetings in Jeddah. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has urged the swift completion of national infrastructure projects, calling for an accelerated review of road maintenance and faster development of logistics corridors connecting production zones to Egypt's upgraded ports. In a high-level meeting, al-Sisi emphasized the importance of attracting major global shipping lines to support Egypt's economic and industrial ambitions. Updates were presented on key ports, including Gargoub, Abu Qir, and East Port Said, along with the progress at Galela Marina and Berenice Port. The session also reviewed major transport projects: the East Nile monorail, set to open November 2025, the Ain Sokhna Alamein high-speed rail, June 2026, and the Salem New Capital Rail Line, March 2026. And Egypt has dispatched its 22nd humanitarian aid convoy to Gaza, including 3 fuel trucks and essential supplies such as food, medical items, and hygiene products. The convoy, part of the Zad El Izza, the Provision of Honor from Egypt to Gaza initiative, crossed from Rafah and awaits Israeli inspection at the Karam Abu Salim crossing before entering Gaza. This aid comes as Gaza faces its first ever recorded famine due to the ongoing Israeli blockade and conflict. The Egyptian Red Crescent continues coordinating relief efforts at the border. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has addressed the extraordinary session of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation in Jeddah, condemning Israel's systematic violations and escalation in Gaza, including collective punishment and obstruction of aid. Abdelati underscored Egypt's pivotal humanitarian role, providing 70% of Gaza's aid and treating thousands of Palestinians. The Egyptian foreign minister demanded Israel allow unrestricted aid entry and held it fully responsible for the ongoing crisis and rejection of ceasefire efforts. He denounced Israeli expansion in the West Bank, violating international law and jeopardizing the two-state solution. Emphasizing Egypt's unwavering support for the Palestinian rights and statehood, he welcomed new recognitions of Palestine and urged more countries to follow. Egypt firmly rejects forced displacement and any policies undermining Palestinian self-determination. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has held a bilateral meeting with the Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan during the organization of the Islamic Cooperation Emergency Session in Jeddah. Both ministers condemned Israel's ongoing aggression in Gaza, highlighting violations of international and humanitarian law, including starvation and civilian killings. Abdelati reviewed Egypt's coordinated efforts with Qatar to secure a ceasefire, ensure unhindered humanitarian aid, and facilitate detainee releases. They praised the growing ties between Egypt and Saudi Arabia following the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's August 21st visit, emphasizing the need to build on this momentum to strengthen their strategic partnership and regional stability. Both expressed eagerness to activate the Supreme Coordination Council soon and underscored sustained cooperation on regional and international issues. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati also met with the Iraqi Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Fouad Hussein during the organization of the Islamic Cooperation Emergency Session in Jeddah to discuss Gaza's crisis. Both praised the growing momentum in the Egypt-Iraq relations, highlighting the success of the third Egyptian-Iraqi Joint Higher Committee meeting in January 2025, which yielded 12 agreements advancing bilateral cooperation. They explored expanding economic ties, aiming to boost trade to $1 billion annually and enhance private sector partnerships. Abdelati praised Iraq's political, security, and economic stability efforts, reaffirming Egypt's support for Iraq's sovereignty and regional role. The ministers jointly condemned Israel's ongoing Gaza aggression, starvation tactics, and West Bank settlement expansions, emphasizing coordinating efforts with Qatar to secure a ceasefire, humanitarian aid access, and detainee releases. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has met with the Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi during the organization of the Islamic Cooperation Emergency Session in Jeddah to discuss Gaza, Syria, and Lebanon. They reviewed bilateral relations and emphasized ongoing coordination on shared concerns. The ministers exchanged views on Gaza's dire situation amid Israeli aggression and preparations for the OIC ministerial action to halt the violence. They also addressed the Iranian nuclear file, stressing de-escalation and resuming peaceful negotiations with the IAEA and the United States. Abdelati highlighted Egypt's ceasefire efforts, humanitarian aid, and detainee release proposals. On Lebanon, Abdelati reaffirmed Egypt's call to end the foreign interference and Israeli occupation. Regarding Syria, Egypt opposes any moves threatening its stability or regional peace. Amid Gaza's ongoing suffering, Egypt emerges as the lifeline and delivering aid, healing the wounded, and mobilizing nationwide efforts to sustain hope for Palestinians. And Egypt's Senate runoff election began today for Egyptians abroad and will continue for 2 days. Voting is taking place at 136 polling stations in 117 countries under the supervision of Egyptian diplomats. The The runoff covers 5 governorates: Gharbiya, Ismailia, Bani Suef, Luxor, and the New Valley, where 10 candidates are competing for 5 remaining individual seats. Domestically, voting is scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday. The initial round saw 11.8 million voters participate, a 17.1% turnout, the highest since the Senate's establishment. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has emphasized that Terminal 4 at Cairo International Airport will mark a transformative upgrade to Egypt's aviation infrastructure, setting a global benchmark in design and operation. Reviewed during a meeting in New Alamein with the Civil Aviation Minister Dr. Sameh Al-Hifni, the terminal is designed to handle over 30 million passengers annually, doubling the airport's capacity to 60 million. The project features a new runway with advanced navigation systems, solar-powered car parks, and seamless road integration. It will also use cutting-edge smart technologies and meet up top safety, security, and sustainability standards. Qnews will host the launch of the 2025 Egyptian Entrepreneurship Sector Diagnostics Report, the SDR 2025, from September the 24th to the 26th, and produced by Intilaq. In partnership with Qnews, the report offers a comprehensive review of Egypt's startup ecosystem, covering investment trends, gender participation, legal frameworks, and policy developments. The Qnews Launch Summit will gather government officials, investors, founders, and international experts to discuss the findings and promote entrepreneurship as a key driver of Egypt's innovation economy through 2030. The World Bank has praised its ongoing strategic partnership with Egypt under the 2023-2027 Country Partnership Framework, the CPF, and the World Bank's 2023-2027 partnership with Egypt supports sustainable growth through $6.5 billion in ongoing projects focusing on healthcare, education, and economic reform. Since 1959, Egypt has received over $27.5 billion in funding across 201 projects. The partnership has improved healthcare for 6.3 million people, education for 3.6 million students, and helped 5.2 million families through social protection programs. And over 400,000 jobs have also been created. Fitch Solutions has projected Egypt's economy is on track for steady growth and falling unemployment over the next decade. In its latest reports, Fitch's BMI research unit forecasts GDP growth of a 4.7% in first part of the 2025-2026, rising to a 5.0% in the fiscal year 2026-2027. Over the long term, annual growth is expected to average a 4.6% through 2034, up from a 33.8% between 2010 and 2019. Meanwhile, Egypt's unemployment rate is projected to decline from a 6.2% in 2025 to a 4.4% by 2034, despite a growing population, which is set to reach 132 million by then. Private consumption is expected to remain the main economic driver, making up an 87% of the GDP by 2034. The Japan International Cooperation Agency, the JICA, has reported Egypt's economy grew by a 4.77% in the third quarter of the fiscal year 2024-25, the highest in 3 years, up from a 2.2% the previous year. And JICA credits this growth to a robust manufacturing sector and rising exports. The agency also notes improvements in inflation, unemployment, and overall economic activity, signaling continued positive momentum for Egypt's economy. And that's the end of our news bulletin for this hour. And here's a quick recap of today's top stories. President Sisi urges swift completion of the national infrastructure projects. Egypt dispatches its 22nd aid convoy from Rafah to Gaza via the Karam Abu Salim border crossing. And the Egyptian and Saudi foreign ministers discuss Gaza during their bilateral meeting in Jeddah. And that's all for now. Remember to stay updated by following Q News for the latest developments.